And can you smell it? Can you smell the freedom? Yeah, baby. Yeah. We're so happy to be introducing James O'Keefe here today. He is getting the truth out, and you know, that's what this is all about right here. That's why we're here. And everything that he's doing not to expose all this fraud and everything, but to get our country back in the right trajectory. We have a lot of fraud, a lot of false narrative going on. The media, I don't need to even go on about what the media's become, right? I just pray to God that we get you know, more bold journalists like James O'Keefe to stand up, like Brendan Leslie, to stand up and get the truth out there. And we're blessed to be here in the free state of Florida here. We're gonna have to stand us up here on the stage very soon. He's talked to him and he said he's coming, so it's gonna be fun here. We're gonna have a good time tonight. I think Brent and I are gonna talk about a couple things for a few minutes here while we're waiting for James to come in.
You know what's the best part about us doing events like this and having a seat at the table? They can't censor us! This is the beacon of truth, patriotism, and conservatism, and that is honestly, Alfie, when you opened Seat at the Table, did you ever imagine it would turn into what it is today?
Well, I imagined that it was going to be a great place of community, and when I designed the place and we created it, I talked to folks that said that this concept would never work because of how much labor it takes making everything from scratch, and obviously it's working quite well. But what I never saw it turn into a place that was all conservatives and all patriots, and that's been the biggest blessing of all. Because, and I say conservatives and patriots, but I want to also add the truth, right? And we're all about the truth. The products that you buy here, our flour's made from heirloom wheat. It's true wheat. It's the real wheat like our great-grandparents had. It's from the food we sell to the way that we treat every employee with love. This store is a microcosm of what I'd like to see the United States of America do.
We talk about it in our interview with James, but when you go down there around the store, you never see any supply chain issues despite what's happening across America. Why is that?
Well, we got to ask that question. I mean, it all comes down to relationships, right? There's supply somewhere. I heard there was a shortage of sour cream lately or something. I don't really buy it. Cream cheese, yeah. So I don't really buy it. We never run out here, so I'm unaffected by a lot of these things. But there's always product available somewhere, but it has to do with connections and relationships. And from the time that I started on the roadside until now, I have a lot of the same relationships with farmers, with distributors that I've had. You know, a lot of these relationships are 25, 30 years old, so they're not going to cut me out because they have to look at me personally, right? So this corporatization of America has kind of taken away relationships to some degree. So back when there was no toilet paper in the world, we don't even sell toilet paper. Well, I brought in a trailer load of toilet paper, so we'd have toilet paper for everyone. So we're going to have supply. I put almost $15 million worth of seed away so that if there's a seed shortage, that we would have seed. And we don't buy seed. We don't buy seed from Seedway that's owned by Bayer, that's owned by Monsanto, the whole boat. We buy it from a company that's no GMOs. That's a smaller company. You know what's crazy? I'm going off on a tangent here, but the United States only uses 3% of the world's vegetable seed. You would think it would use more, right? But other countries are eating more healthy than us, eating more vegetables. So we got to start eating more vegetables. And you get them here and see at the table, they're never genetically modified.
While we're speaking about the truth and being at seat at the table, you don't have preservatives in your stuff. You don't got crap. Why do we never hear from the FDA about being healthy and living a healthy lifestyle to fight this China virus?
Well, you know, it's odd that you say that. That's the first thing that my mind jumped to when you said that we get to talk here and not be censored, right? Because I got kicked off of Facebook last week. I got kicked off for 30 days, and it was for a post that I made that said that I've never taken the vaccine and that I eat a healthy diet, and I wish that the doctors would talk about keeping your immune system strong, keeping a healthy biome, and that's what protects you from the China virus. And not the poison that man puts in your veins.
And the fact checker said that's wrong? That's misinformation?
And I said, and I even included there that if someone wants to do that, I'm a libertarian, and that's okay if they do it. I'm not shaming them. I'm just saying, for me, I'd never do it. I've never been sick, and for that, I got kicked off for 30 days. So
how backwards is society if that's misinformation?
Okay, talk about healthy eating. You got to get kicked off, right?
Alrighty, Alfie. I know they don't want to hear from us anymore. They want to hear from the man of the hour.
Yeah, they can hear from me any day.
Yeah, every Tuesday, Patriot Talk Show, you can hear from us. Let's welcome out the CEO of Project Veritas, James O'Keefe.
Let's give a big round of applause for this truth seeker, for this freedom fighter.
Thank you, Alfie. Great to be with you. I'm so humbled by this, by all of you, and it's great to be here in Naples, Florida. It's great to be here. Everyone says they need to move to Florida. Everyone. But not everyone tells me where I need to go in Florida, but I guess Naples is a great place. So, and I really wish they had one of these places up in New York, New Jersey. I really wish Alfie had one up there. So I am the founder of Project Veritas, and I have written this book called American Muckraker. Book took me 5 years to write. I've been doing this for about 12 years. I have a really amazing staff, an amazing group of employees, some of which are here, and an amazing cadre of whistleblowers. And I talk about in this book the importance of courage. Brendan mentioned this briefly, the importance of not being afraid. Not being afraid, being willing to speak the truth that is not spoken. And I think one of the most important things I've written about in this book, and one of the most important things about Project Veritas, is the moment you stop caring about what the New York Times, CNN thinks about you, the moment you're no longer afraid of losing your Twitter account, is the moment you become actually free to do the right thing. So, now, I'm banned on Twitter. Project Veritas is banned on Twitter. And yet every story that we have done since that ban in April has trended on Twitter, including the one we did 2 weeks ago, involving Anthony Fauci. And his source came to us, a Department of Defense document showing lying about gain-of-function research. And this story went to #1 on Twitter, even though we're not even on Twitter. So we believe content is king. We believe the story is strong enough and good enough, it'll get its way out in the open. Now, just to talk a little personally for a minute, how did I get started doing this? That's a lot of people ask, well, James, how'd you do this? Well, pimps and prostitutes, and Lucky Charms. The first thing I ever did, first undercover video we ever did was, I was in college, and I went to Rutgers, I'm from New Jersey, and I went in, New Jersey? Where are you from, New Jersey? What? Right near Westwood? You're from Westwood? Bergen County, New Jersey. That's where I'm from. There you go. So I went into my dining hall with a box of Lucky Charms. Now, I myself am an Irish American. There you go. And I said, the character on the front of the cereal box does not look like me. And I went in there with a straight face, which is very hard to do when you're doing this sort of Borat meets 60 Minutes sort of thing. And I said, and I had a hidden camera, and I said, I want you to remove Lucky Charms on the grounds it's racist against the Irish. And to my shock, they took me seriously. And they actually told me they would ban Lucky Charms. So this is the first undercover video that we ever did at Project Veritas. And then a year or two, a couple years later, a young woman reached out to me. She was also from Florida. She was from Miami. She was 20 years old. I was then 24. And she said, have you ever thought about doing something on Acorn? Now, I had not heard of Acorn. I never knew what it was. It was an organization. Barack Obama was an attorney for Acorn. And she messaged me on Facebook, and this is the origin of a Project Veritas story. To this day, people DM us and message us. We have no idea who they are. They have crazy ideas and crazy documents. And this young woman said, why don't you go into Acorn dressed like a prostitute? And I said, are you willing to be the prostitute? To this person I never met before. And then I said, there probably should be a pimp with this prostitute. And as a filmmaker, I thought, now who could be the pimp? And then it dawned upon me that I should probably be the pimp. And I needed a pimp costume. So I knocked on the door, my grandmother's door, and asked her if she had an old 1970s fur coat. And if you Google my name, Acorn Pimp, you will see this ridiculous photograph of me and Hannah Giles. Hannah's actually coming to the party on Saturday night in Miami. And we went around the country into these offices with a hidden camera. And we talked to these workers. These workers were receiving so much money from the government. This is 2009. And they, to my shock, they told me how to disguise these prostitutes. It's, again, it's a sting operation. They think I'm a pimp and a hooker. They told me how to lie to the government and disguise it on my tax forms. And the whole time I'm having this conversation, that my camera is in my tie, and I'm just hoping that the battery didn't die. It's like a wire into my pocket. And we get out of this first office in Baltimore, and then we say, why don't we go to New York? Why don't we go to California and do this? And we did it. And a few weeks later, after we released these videotapes, Congress had defunded Acorn after we did this story. So, some of you knew about that, some of you did not know the full story. We released the videos one at a time because the media was saying it's an isolated incident. They got thrown out of the first office. It was not isolated. We got them in a trap. I met this man named Andrew Breitbart. He taught me Andrew Breitbart. I literally showed up to his house with my laptop to show him the videos, and we teamed up together. And the rest is history. And in this book, I also talk about the highs and lows of being a journalist. Shortly after the Acorn story, I was arrested in Louisiana. In another story, by the FBI. It was 2010. And they put me in handcuffs, they put me in shackles. They charged me with a crime I did not commit. And that was its own ordeal. But I found by continuing on, 3 years later, all the prosecutors who came after me, all these U.S. attorneys resigned for misconduct and were ultimately punished and disbarred after what they did to Project Veritas. And I think it sends a message because I think there is a temptation to give up. You know, Alan, I called Alan the morning of the raid, and it was pretty terrifying. It was honestly terrifying when the FBI shows up at your door. But I also saw something that morning, at least I thought I did, which was that I think there's 120,000 people working for the Department of Justice in this country, or thereabouts. And there's about a dozen agents in my home. And I have to believe that half of these men and women who were in my apartment that morning, at least half of them were actually fans of Project Veritas. Because I looked at their body language. And I could almost see, and you can never quite tell with these sorts of agents, but I could almost see in their faces, what was going through their head was, what on earth are we doing here? Are we following orders? Well, I could tell you about a lot of other societies throughout history which were just following orders. And really I thought more about it, and I thought, if just one of these people, I mean, out of 120,000 people, if just one spoke up, and yes, it's difficult, and yes, you get punished for it, and yes, you even suffer for it. But the first chapter of my book is actually called Suffering, because what I've realized that in life, we all suffer. It's just a question of what are you going to suffer for? So, mark my words, as I stand here today in Naples, Florida, there will be, at some point, a whistleblower that comes out of the Department of Justice on the record. And that will in turn create another whistleblower, and another, and another, and another, and another, until the oppressor becomes the oppressed. The hunter becomes the hunted. Because honest to God, while that was in fact terrifying, I called you and other people. I had to call you from my iPad because they took my phones. They surprisingly only took my phones. They didn't take my iPad, my laptop. And the only thing in my apartment is books and clothes, so they just, they moved everything around. But I know that there's going to be a lot of brave people who come out. And I know that we can no longer depend upon our politicians to save this country. We can't. Sometimes, people say, elect Republicans. I think the Republicans in D.C. need to grow a pair of balls, honestly. I'm not sure what they actually do there, but we're so divided, and it's not. What I don't understand is, why are we divided on facts? There's only one truth. There's only one reality. You're not entitled to multiple realities. So if there's only one reality, let's expose the reality. And let's force them to respond to it. So we had a story come out last night involving this nurse. We have another story coming out tomorrow. Veritas is backlogged with we got people sources everywhere. We have people inside, you name it, we have people inside TV stations, government agencies, and they're just waiting to film that moment. Also lawyers. We have the best lawyers. I sound like Trump right now. We have the best lawyers. They're unbelievably good lawyers. They're the very best lawyers anywhere anybody has. We really do have the best lawyers. And we go to these court cases, we go to trial, and we win. And I don't know how it even gets to a jury verdict, but it does. And we always win. And we depose them in court, right? I don't know if any of you have been deposed before, but I have many times. And I love being deposed. I enjoy it. They don't like being deposed because they keep secrets and they don't want to be exposed. So now in the New York Times lawsuit, because the judge ruled on that, we get to go into discovery against the New York Times. And we get to get all their emails. And we get to ask them questions under oath. They're very scared, they don't like that. And we're going to publish all the deposition videos on YouTube. Because the New York Times and the FBI have become one. They're working together. And that's an American tragedy. It shouldn't be like that. So our mission is to bring hope to the people by being catalysts for citizen empowerment, by giving them microphones and cameras. And if you're lying, cheating, stealing, scamming, we're going to make you an internet celebrity. We're going to make you famous. So we're going to have a party on Saturday night in Miami. It's sold out, so I don't know if I can get you in, but we put on this whole production. It's effectively like Hamilton meets Cats meets Project Veritas. And it's amazing. It's going to be at the Fontainebleau Hotel, Miami, on Saturday night. So I appreciate y'all being here. I'd like to open up some questions. I don't know if there's a possibility Brendan take some questions.
Hey James, we're going to get out in the crowd. We're going to get the mobile camera going so you can see the question. Who wants to ask James O'Keefe a question? First person to raise their hand, I'm going to go to them. I see one back here. We're going back here. Come here, Jason. I saw this guy first. I'm going to him. I said, whoever was first. I'm the man of my word. All right, tell James your name and your question, and we got you on the camera so that James can see it.
Hello, Brendan. My name is Dan Gauthier. I'm from Venice, Florida. I attended Patriots Fest in May, and I specifically asked James and Brendan about trolling on Twitter and Facebook. We now know both of those platforms are purely propaganda, and you need to find a way around it. You should not be trolling them. I understand you think that's a way to advance your. I'd really like to know.
What's your question?
Where are you going to go when you are shut out of Facebook? When you are shut out of Twitter? When your videos on YouTube get turned down? What are you going to do?
All right, good question. The question was, where are we going to go when we get shut down? And the answer is, I'm going to send these 1-minute videos to every single person in this room, and you're going to upload them yourself. Because when you catch them in the act, they won't be able to censor it. When the images are so powerful and so damning, I say let them try to censor it. They failed. I'm not even on Twitter. And the Anthony Fauci videos trended #1 thanks to all of you spreading it around. So don't take my word for it. Just look at what we've been able to accomplish. Next question.
Hey, we're over here to your right, James. Over here to your right, across the stage. Here we go. Tell James your name, speak closely to the mic, and your question.
Hi, my name's Megan Phelan, Sarasota, Florida. I'm just wondering your thoughts on January 6th and where that whole mess is going, Julie Kelly's work, and your thoughts on just the political prisoners that are there today.
Well, I mean, I might thank you for the question. The question was thoughts on January 6th and Jesse Kelly's work. I mean, I myself have been a former political prisoner. In Louisiana, there was a misdemeanor. What they did was unconscionable. I wrote another book about that incident. But it's wrong, even if they did commit a crime. I think the solitary confinement for as long as it is wrong. It's unconscionable. It's a harsh and unusual punishment for what it is. And it's wrong. And there's some questions, there's so many questions about the Department of Justice and their actions, including in my matter. And the main question I have, which is not directly related to January 6th, but my case is, who authorized the raid against me? Was it the Attorney General of the United States? Or was it the President of the United States? Or neither? Because the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, issued a memorandum in July expressly forbidding the execution of search warrants against American journalists, or even people who purport to be American journalists. So my question is, who authorized this? Was it someone in the Southern District of New York acting autonomously? Either way, it's a big problem, and I do believe that these things come out. I think bad people do bad things and get away with it for just a little while, but it always bites them in the ass in the end.
Hey, James, I got at least 3 more. We got some time. You good?
Yeah, I have plenty of time.
Great, perfect. All right, I got a question right here.
My name is Erica Callhammer, and we had a situation where Naples Community Hospital here locally was mandating the vaccine, and our people were quitting, and they weren't being fired, but they were pushing fired. So we had someone who actually was going to talk to Project Veritas. I contacted Project Veritas about it, gave them the details. I got an email back immediately.
Good.
The girl got very scared that the hospital would retaliate against her, and she bailed. How do we convince people to do the right thing? I don't know how, because she was not just afraid for her job, which is your job in your life, but she was afraid for people coming after her.
The question was, there was a person who was going to go public as a whistleblower and she was afraid, right? And you're asking me, how do we convince them to do the right thing, even if it means, getting attacked for it? The only way that I can do that is by doing more of it and showing there's life after whistleblowing, right? I mean, I don't know, where's Eric Sprackman? Is he in the audience? My team, is my colleague Eric in the audience, Jordan? Maybe not. The nurse last night has already raised tens of thousands of dollars this morning for what she did. Morgan Common, who blew the whistle on Facebook, raised $500,000. And I would just speak to the people who've actually done it, because they have to live, they have to follow you have to follow your conscience, because you have 2 choices to make. You can follow your conscience and experience some pain, or you don't follow your conscience, and the pain you experience is far worse. So either way, why not do the right thing and talk to the people that have done it, and I'll have one of my colleagues come up to you and exchange information, and we'll reconnect with that whistleblower and have another conversation with him. Thank you.
All right, we got another one for you over here, James.
James, my name's Daniel from North Carolina. I was just wanting to ask you, will you continue to expose Planned Parenthood?
Planned Parenthood, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Can I shake your hand?
Sure, come on.
Hey, that was a nice direct question. I like it. All right, we got another one right after you shake this man's hand. This is Bo Boatman from Naples. He would like to ask you a question. All right.
So I'm Bo Boatman, and currently I'm actually working on a freshman at FGCU right now. I don't want to give too much away, but I'm working on an expose within. There are certain clubs on campus they're pushing a really toxic agenda in terms of pro-choice versus pro-life stuff, and and they're doing it by claiming that a lot of the pregnancy resource centers around here are fake clinics. And so I'm meeting with a lot of the directors of these resource centers and everything, and I'm going to be putting videos out about all this stuff and why these claims are false. And this school it's a fairly liberal school, and I'm not all too sure about how the backlash is going to be. So I just wanted to ask you, how do you deal with backlash, maybe personally or within your organization, with some of your more controversial exposés?
It's one of the hardest things about doing this, is getting attacked for doing it. How do you deal with the reputational harm? The book is really about, but if I could summarize it in one sentence, you just keep going. You just keep going. Because Andrew Breitbart, my mentor, said it in this way. He said, if you run towards the fire and you survive, you send a message to other people that are rooting for you that they can do it too. So, and I think when you go through this retaliation and abuse from the system, and you survive it, you get stronger and you develop superpowers. Because then it kind of goes off your shoulder. And the campus environment is a great place to get started as a journalist, really. You learn more on the job in like 3 weeks than you do an entire journalism school for 4 years. So I applaud you for what you're doing. Keep doing it. Don't let the bastards get you down.
All right, James, I got your next question over here.
Hi, my name is Megan, and I hear Jack Posobiec say a lot that Getter is the lifeboat. I think the true lifeboat is the only free speech platform available, which is Gab. Are you on Gab?
I'm on all of them. I support releasing it. I'm not even on Twitter, and our stuff's trending on Twitter. I want to be everywhere, right? And I don't just want to preach to the choir. I don't just want to go into mediums and platforms where everyone agrees with each other. Some people think that I should do that. I will not do that. I want our videos covered by the New York Times and CNN. I want Anderson Cooper to be forced to talk about us. I want CBS News to be forced to talk about us. So we need to change our paradigm, where our bar is too low. I want CBS News, ABC News, and the Associated Press to talk about our next video. To hell with the censorship. We're going to force them to talk about it. Not because they want to, but because they have to. So to answer your question, yes, I'm on there. We're on everywhere. There's so many of these new things popping up. I tell my staff, let's get on every single one. And that's the way it's going to be. We're going to release videos on every single platform, even if we're censored.
All right, I got a couple more out here.
Hi James, I'm Becky and I'm from Pittsburgh. Hey, I wanted to ask you if you could please find somebody to whistleblow within the CDC and the FDA on the remdesivir COVID protocols that are killing people in hospitals.
2 words, stay tuned. What's next?
That was a nice, quick, easy answer. We got a question all the way in the back here.
All right.
First, thank you to you and your team for everything you're doing. Hey, my question is, assuming that the corruption is wide and deep, how does this play out? Do we elect new officials and the corrupt ones are out? Do they pay for what they've done? Do they get arrested? How do you see what we're living through playing out?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I wish I was qualified. I mean, I'm a journalist, right? So what does that mean? It means I think information is accountability. What does that mean? Well, I don't think they fear anything other than exposure at this point. I don't think they certainly don't fear the Republicans in Congress, I can tell you that much. I don't know if they fear the courts. I think the only thing the communists fear is being exposed. And that's what Whittaker Chambers wrote. I agree with that. Sunlight is what is the answer is accountability and transparency. And that might not be enough for you. You might want these people in jail. But that's also a slippery slope because it seems like both sides just want to jail each other. And you can't have it. That's not what the founders of this country intended. That's what James Madison warned about. So I think the solution to all of our problems is information. is real information. I mean, I'm talking about first-person observation journalism where you can see it. And you might say, well, that's not enough. I actually disagree with you. I think that will be enough. Because the tragedy in our country is that we disagree on things that we should not disagree on. As George Orwell in the book 1984, which, by the way, that was the year I was born. That's ironic. George Orwell wrote in 1984, freedom is the freedom to say that 2 + 2 = 4. If that is granted, all else follows. So you have people saying 2 + 2 = 4 and 2 + 2 = 5. Let's start getting people to agree that 2 + 2 = 4 before we talk about anything else. I think that is the solution. It's an unpopular answer, but if you do it via fiat and you force your political will on people who don't agree with you, we're headed towards, I don't know what we're headed towards, society's collapse. So information is accountability. The First Amendment is the right that makes all of our other rights possible. Let's show these people in the media how it's done and do their jobs for them.
All right, James, we're all the way in the back behind the bar here, so I'm hoping we can get the cameras in range and we get her on. Oh, there we are. Here we go. Tell James your name and your question.
Hi, James. My name's Tori. I'm actually from New Jersey, too. First of all, I just want to thank you so much for what you do. And my question is, do you want to go on a date?
Shit just got off this.
You were on the spot.
I mean, damn. I mean, you can hear a pin drop right now. Can we talk off the record? That's my answer. Where are you from in New Jersey? I don't even know where you are. I'm looking at a screen in the back here.
Oh, it's okay. I live in
You're
Cranford.
behind some trees, so I can't even see you. It's a blind date.
Exactly, right?
Where are you from in New Jersey? Where?
I live in Cranford.
Cranford or Branford?
Cranford.
Cranford.
Yes.
Coming in hot. All right.
Yeah. So, and I have a condo here, so wherever you're thinking, that's fine.
My security guard will have to vet you.
Perfect, that's fine. I
As
have
well
a
as
clean record.
as well as my undercover staff.
No problem.
So we'll put an asterisk there and we'll speak off the record.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, I think I got a guy that's going to ask you a question. I don't think he's going to ask you on a date. So.
I'd be ready for anything in this business.
Hi James, this is Brian.
Where am I looking? I don't know. Okay.
Hi James, this is Brian. You mentioned the hunter becomes the hunted. I'm wondering if you could explain a little bit.
Yeah, this was the end of the first chapter of American Muckraker. There was this guy named Günter Wallraff who was a European journalist, and he goes, at a certain point in the journey of speaking truth to power, the people that are attacking you, Candace Owens said this to me recently too, it's like at a certain point in your journey, they fear you more than you fear them. And it's at that point, nothing can really stop you except you yourself stopping. And they really do fear, and the reason why they fear us, what I mean by the hunter becomes the hunted, is they fear us more than we fear them because they're doing something wrong and you're not. So, I talk about in this book that when the whistleblowers come out, they can't stop this momentum. And after a certain point, they fear us and we just have to keep going. So the only ones that can stop us is ourselves. The FBI, they did what they did twice. I may be the only man you'll ever meet who's been arrested by the FBI twice. It's wild. I'm a journalist. It's wild. But here I'm standing, all right? I'm standing in front of all of you. And by the way, thanks to all of you, and thanks to people like Alfie for his support of Project Veritas.
I think we have one more question. You have more, James?
All right.
Here we go.
Hey, James, to your right.
Hello.
Hey, thank you so much, Ken, for everything you and your team are doing. We
Thank you.
appreciate you. Thank you. My question to you is, speaking of hunting, if you had one last thing to break wide open, that was your last, what story do you want to cover?
If I could break anything open,
Yes.
one story.
Your last story. You could just do one more.
Oh, one more. Well, there will be many more, but
I know there will, and I hope so. You could
if
just
there
do
was
more.
one story, mark my words, standing here, there will be someone from the FBI or the Department of Justice to go public.
Yeah, everyone, thank you very much for coming out today for James O'Keefe's book signing. For all those that are VIP, please line up right here, single file. We'll bring you up. And then for the rest of the people, enjoy seat at the table. And thank you very much for coming out tonight. God bless.